Democracy is often seen as the gold standard for government, but did you know that over half of the world's democracies have failed in the last century? The rise and fall of democracies is a pattern that's repeated throughout history. In fact, on average, democracies only last about 70 years before they either collapse or transform into something else. That's a lot shorter than most people think. What makes democracies so fragile? Why do they often seem to crumble despite all the hope and promise? If you think it's all about elections and freedom, you might be missing something bigger. Most democracies don't fail with a bang, they fall apart slowly, often right under our noses. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden threats that make democracies so unstable. From populist leaders hijacking power to information wars misleading voters, we'll explore why democracies rarely last. Stick around to learn what might be causing the cracks in the system we all rely on. Chapter 1: The Myth of Eternal Freedom. Why democracy is always on the edge. Democracies have long been praised as the best form of government. But history tells us they're not as stable as we might think. In fact, democracies are often more fragile than they seem. The rise and fall of Athens, the first true democracy, is a perfect example. It lasted only about 200 years before it collapsed. What happened? Simple: internal strife, corruption, and external pressures. In modern times, democracies like Venezuela and Brazil show how quickly a democratic system can devolve into authoritarianism. One crucial factor is the economic instability often linked to democracy. In a 2019 study by the World Bank, it was found that economic inequality is one of the leading causes of democratic breakdowns. When people feel left behind, they lose trust in the system. And that's when democracy becomes vulnerable. Democracies aren't immune to corruption either. In fact, according to Transparency International, corruption is more prevalent in democracies than in authoritarian regimes. Why? Because open systems allow for more opportunities to game the system. Chapter 2: The Tyranny of the Majority. How democracy can turn into mob rule. You might think that democracy is all about ensuring the will of the people, but there's a dark side to this. The idea of majority rule sounds fair in theory, but it's easy for a majority to push through policies that harm minority groups. This is known as the tyranny of the majority. One example of this is the treatment of indigenous people in the United States, where laws were made to benefit the majority while disregarding the rights of Native Americans. This can lead to dangerous situations. In some democracies, the majority can vote to strip away civil rights. Take the case of the Weimar Republic, where the majority voted for the rise of Adolf Hitler. What's the solution? Many democratic thinkers, like Alexis de Tocqueville, warned about the dangers of unchecked majority power. A democracy needs safeguards to protect minority rights or it risks turning into a mob. Chapter 3: The Populist Mirage. How leaders hijack democracy for personal gain. Populism is another way democracy can spiral out of control. Charismatic leaders promise to give power back to the people, but often, they only use democracy as a stepping stone to power. Once in office, these leaders chip away at democratic institutions. Look at Hungary's Viktor Orban, who came to power through democratic means and then systematically weakened the country's democratic framework. It's a tried and true strategy. Populist leaders often play on people's fears, presenting themselves as the only ones who can solve the country's problems. This populist appeal is dangerous because it often leads to decisions that erode civil liberties. A study by the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance found that 25 countries, including Poland and Turkey, have seen democratic backsliding due to populism in the last decade. If you're finding this video eye-opening, don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on the next chapter where we tackle how misinformation is shaking the foundations of democracy. Chapter 4: When voters are misled. The dangers of information warfare in democracies. Another big threat to democracies is misinformation. In an age where news spreads faster than ever, it's easier for people to be misled. A 2020 study by MIT showed that fake news spreads 6 times faster than true stories on social media. This creates a serious problem in democracies, where informed voting is key. When voters are misled, democracy isn't functioning properly. We saw this in the 2016 US presidential election. Russian operatives used social media to sow discord, spread misinformation, and manipulate voters. These tactics aren't just a threat in the US. In India, fake news played a significant role in swaying voters during the 2019 general elections. The manipulation of information is something democracies struggle to handle. The result? A more divided electorate and weakened trust in democratic institutions. Chapter 5, The Broken Promises of Democracy, the Elite versus the People. One of the most frustrating aspects of democracy is the sense of being ignored. While the majority votes for change, the elites continue to hold power. A study from Princeton University showed that the opinions of the top 1% of income earners have a greater impact on policy than those of the average citizen. This disparity creates disillusionment. When the people feel their voices don't matter, they stop trusting the system. In fact, a 2019 Gallup poll showed that 70% of people in democracies felt that their government wasn't representing them. This gap between the people and the elite is a key reason why democracies often fail. When people lose faith in their leaders, they become open to radical ideas. And that's how authoritarian figures can rise, promising to cut through the elite and give power back to the people. Chapter 6, From Democracy to Authoritarianism, How it happens so gradually. It's not always a dramatic coup when a democracy collapses. Sometimes it happens slowly, almost imperceptibly. The rise of authoritarianism is often a gradual process. Leaders undermine democratic norms one step at a time, making it hard to notice until it's too late. Take the case of Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He didn't seize power overnight, he slowly eroded democratic institutions over years. This gradual shift is why democracies are so hard to protect. When democratic systems crumble, it often happens in ways that seem legal or justified. A constitutional amendment here, a change in the electoral system there, and soon enough, the foundations of democracy are weakened. In his book on tyranny, historian Timothy Snyder warns that authoritarianism can creep into democratic systems through the erosion of trust, the concentration of power, and the breakdown of the rule of law. Thanks for watching. If you want to dig deeper into how we can protect our democracies from these dangers, make sure to subscribe, so you never miss a crucial update. Stay informed and stay engaged.